that Our Lady said that in the coming century or the 20th century, that I don't remember. I remember literally the quotation, there will be deux papes vermoulus, en français. Two worm-ridden popes. Deux papes vermoulus.
Hello everybody. Been meaning to make this video for quite some time now. I've had to edit and re-edit it a few times. This one is about Francis's time in Argentina, that's Bergoglio, and some of the things which I think are pertinent in these days that I believe that the bishops really need to start taking a look at. Because if these things hold true, then the pathway has already been established. The vehicle is what they need to get to. And this is a request for an investigation to find out exactly what happened in Argentina under Bishop Bergoglio. Because if these things hold true, then you would have to look at the letters, encyclicals of the popes from Gregory the 16th all the way through Pius XII about condemnations. And if these things hold true, especially the letter of Pope Pius XII, which I will put in the video, then we have a very serious issue on our hands. And it needs to be resolved for the church. Because things that I'm seeing are not looking good. And I'm not just talking about things that are happening from the Vatican or in our churches. I'm talking about some other signs which are happening. And if we wait for God's correction, I don't think any of us are going to like his correction. Because he will raise the standard of Our Lady of Fatima. That's what this all comes down to. Anyways, let's get into it.
Now I want to talk to you about something other than our own democracy, but the corruption, once again, that arose and that I knew something about, and that was the corruption of the Catholic Church. And I will just address this briefly because I was a witness to the appointment of Jorge Mario Bergoglio, or the present Pope, called Francis, as a co-conspirator to the Argentinian military junta. It's absolute nonsense, whatever the Catholic Church has said about his exoneration or that they were slanderous notions concerning Pope Francis. In fact, I was told in 1976 and 77 by the military junta specifically when they came to the United States and asked me to help them that he, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the head of the Jesuits, and the Jesuits are part of the St. Ignatius Society. They are considered the elite, the smartest, the best trained, and they were involved in what we call liberation theology in Argentina as well as in the rest of Latin America, and they inspired the nuns, Catholic priests, and Catholic laity to go forth and counter the effects of a very repressive military junta, not only in Argentina, which killed over 6,000 to 10,000 innocent victims, children, students, doctors, lawyers, intellectuals, in the name of the Republic and in the name of the Catholic Church. Jorge Mario Bergoglio was very much involved in this. This was not an issue of his passivity, indifference, in contrast to what people said, but very much directly involved, and I will tell you why. When I was involved in the Aldemoro kidnapping, which many of you may or may not know, I was involved in the regime change, where Aldo Moro was eventually, unfortunately, assassinated. The Red Brigade I had neutralized, as well as the P2 scandal and the fascists. I then came back to the United States, and I was visited by the chief of the military junta in the State Department when I was Deputy Assistant Secretary of State during the Jimmy Carter presidency, under Secretaries of State Vance, an incredible man, Cyrus Vance, and Deputy Secretary of State Warren Christopher, also both incredible gentlemen and incredibly honest individuals who unfortunately are no longer around, and unfortunately we do not have that type of integrity demonstrated by our present Secretaries of State, and particularly Hillary Clinton or John Kerry or any of the others who have been our Secretary of State, including Colin Powell. But be it as it may, I was on the 7th floor, located next to the Secretary of State's office suite, and I was visited by the chief of the junta, a representative, and he had asked me specifically, would I please come? He had initially politely asked me, would I come and help the military junta in Argentina to abrogate the communists or eliminate the communists? And I asked him, who are the communists, and what in fact did he want me to do? And he specifically said, well, I would want you to be involved in the torture, interrogation, and subjugation of communists. I explained to him, I'm not involved in torture, I don't involve in subjugation, and that's not what I do in regime change. Psychological operations and regime change is a far more sophisticated procedure which does not involve torture, does not necessarily involve assassination, and he had no idea what he was talking about. Nevertheless, I said no. I then asked him, who are the communists that you're talking about? He said specifically, these are communists who are priests, nuns, and Jesuits, and with the help, he specifically named that help of Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the Jesuit in charge of the Jesuit order. There were those Jesuits who were being indicted and being investigated for their liberation theology. Now, liberation theology was really a concept that most of the Catholics at that time felt, and correctly so from my point of view, that you needed to help the poor, you needed to help those who were being suppressed by the elite, the rich, the wealthy, and the military. I then asked again, and I knew from my intelligence reports that there were over 6,000 to 10,000 people missing, and 6,000 to 10,000 so-called nuns, priests, and Catholic lay in a stadium in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and elsewhere. And I asked this military junta executive specifically, what are you doing with the nuns, the priests, and the Jesuits who are in your stadium who are not communists? He got very offended. He said, they are communists. I said, they are not communists. I just came back from neutralizing the Brigata Rosa, the Red Brigade. I said, I know very well who the communists are. I was involved in the takedown of the Soviet Union. And I said, I can assure you, sir, that under no condition is a Catholic nun, a priest, or a Jesuit a communist or in any way a threat to the military junta or any other junta. However, the military junta, I told him, was a threat to the viability of the Catholics in the state of Argentina. Once again, he mentioned the name of Jorge Mario Bergoglio and their work in association and affiliation. Subsequently, I found out in intelligence that 2 Jesuits were interrogated, abrogated, tortured, and eventually killed, as were many nuns and many priests, under the auspices of Jorge Mario Bergoglio and the rest of the Catholic Church in Argentina. But I'm not speaking as an individual or as a person of faith. I am speaking simply as an expert in counterterrorism, where I was involved directly with the accusation that Jorge Mario Bergoglio, in the tradition of it, has been appointed to Pope Francis, and I am asking the Catholic Church and the Catholic community of the world to renounce his appointment as the Holy Father of an important church. So I ask you Catholics in the audience, in America particularly, to protest and denounce the appointment of Pope Francis and ask for another reassignment of another pope. For it's up to you to determine the morality of the church and to bring back the basic faith of Jesus, who said, let us do unto others as others would do unto us.
So I would think you're a Catholic. You said you're just defending really the Catholic life principle. The Pope, the current Pope, is from Argentina. I would think he would support you. He has instead criticized you, and you've called him a communist. Why the disconnect?
Bueno, primero porque el Papa juega políticamente. Es decir, es un Papa donde tiene fuerte injerencia política. Ha demostrado además una gran afinidad con dictadores como Castro o como con Maduro. Es decir, está del lado de dictaduras sangrientas.
Wait, I'm sorry. Raúl Castro's a murderer.
Sí, y Fidel Castro también era otro asesino.
But the Pope, you believe the Pope has an affinity for Raúl Castro?
Sí, exacto. Sí, tiene afinidad por los comunistas asesinos. De hecho, no los condena. Es decir, es bastante condescendiente con ellos. Y es también condescendiente con la dictadura venezolana. Es decir, él es condescendiente con todos los de izquierdas, aun cuando sean verdaderos criminales, lo cual eso es un problema. Pero además es alguien que considera que la justicia social un elemento central de su visión, y eso es muy complicado, porque la justicia social, ¿qué es? Robarle el fruto de su trabajo a una persona y dárselo a otra. Entonces implica dos cosas. Una es un robo, y el problema es que el robo está en contra de lo que señalan los 10 mandamientos. Es decir, avalar la justicia social es avalar el robo. Por lo tanto, es un problema de que está violando los 10 mandamientos. El otro problema es que es un trato desigual frente a la ley. Y no me parece que sea algo justo, digamos, que algunos sean premiados y otros sean castigados desde una posición de poder como la que tiene el Estado, que tiene el monopolio de la violencia.
The thing is, the World Social Forum is blatantly and thoroughly communist, and it was created by local and international communist organizations in 2001. One of the communist organizations that helped launch the World Social Forum is called Movimento dos Trabalhadores Rurais Sem Terra, or MST, which means Landless Rural Workers Movement. And it just so happens that MST was featured in the Vatican's recent video for the 4th annual World Meeting of Popular Movements. Published on the Vatican News YouTube channel, the Vatican's video spends 46 minutes featuring several organizations and their causes before providing Pope Francis's nearly 40-minute speech applauding their efforts. The problem is that several of these organizations are openly professed Marxists. Beginning at 14 minutes and 30 seconds, the Vatican's video provides a speaking platform for a woman representing MST named Ceres Hadich. We went to Ceres Hadich's Facebook page and quickly discovered her identity as a communist. On February 20th of this year, Hadich posted this: International Red Book Day. The Communist Manifesto was written in 1848 and released on February 21 of that same year. Therefore, on this day, All Red Book Day is celebrated worldwide. MST invites all militancy to read excerpts from the Communist Manifesto. Marx and Engels record and post on social media. So, this woman, given a big spotlight by the Vatican in an official Vatican video where the participants are celebrated by Pope Francis, this same woman, just a few months earlier, read excerpts from the Communist Manifesto with her husband and young children. Most disturbingly, at around the 20-minute mark of the Vatican video, the Vatican shows people working at an MST building, and printed on the wall is a mural of Pope Francis wearing an MST t-shirt. The thing is, MST should never have been allowed to have been involved with anything at the Vatican. On May 5th of this year, MST published an article on its own website celebrating Karl Marx's 203rd birthday, saying, quote, Today marks 203 years since the birth of the philosopher of the Revolution, who left a legacy of ideas and writings about the communist revolution. The article provides 7 quotes attributed to Marx, providing MST's own thoughts on what the father of communism said. With regard to Marx's statement that, quote, "the people who subjugate another forge their own chains," MST said this, quote, "according to Marx, socialism governed by the working class would give rise to communism, a stateless society, without the existence of social and egalitarian classes. This is why it is important that the class struggle be egalitarian, and that it does not stand out from any other people." In other words, their goal is the same as Marx's. They want a communist state. And, regarding Marx's quote, "revolutions are the locomotive of history," MST said this, "For Marx, human societies only progress through conflicts between the bourgeois class, which controls the means of production, and the proletariat, which supplies the labor force. In this author's view, the history of humanity is permeated by class struggle. This is why the revolution is so urgent and must be carried out by the working classes." These are militant Marxists working toward and preparing for actual revolution in pursuit of Karl Marx's communist ideologies. And they were given a major platform on a Vatican-produced video. But they're not the only ones. Beginning at 18 minutes, the Vatican video gives a spotlight to Luca Casarini, the head of an organization called Mediterranea Saving Humans. Casarini is a longtime Marxist agitator who used to lead what was called the White Overalls movement. In May of 2001, Casarini read a declaration of war against the G8 summit in Genoa, saying, "From the outskirts of the empire, from the many worlds that resist and grow with the dream of a better existence for all, today we little rebel subjects formally declare war on you. It is a choice that you have provoked because we prefer peace. It is a decision that for us means challenging your arrogance and your strength, but we are obliged to do so." Casarini's Facebook page is littered with communist organizations such as Antifa of Monsalis, the Communist Party of Crispiano, the Communist Noci Refoundation. These communist groups, the Party of the Communist Refoundation of Sesto San Giovanni, Che Guevara Rome, the Young Communists of Naples, and on, and on, and on. And despite Casarini's long affiliation with the communist movement in Italy, not only was he featured in this Vatican video, but last April, Pope Francis sent him a handwritten note thanking him for his work with Mediterranea Saving Humans, giving his offer to help, saying, "Count on me." The letter says, "Luca, dear brother, thank you very much for your letter which Michel brought me. Thank you for the human pity you have in the face of so many pains. Thank you for your testimony which does me so much good. I am close to you and your companions. Thanks for all that you do. I would like to tell you that I am always available to help out. Count on me. I wish you a holy Easter. I pray for you. Please do it for me. May the Lord bless you and Our Lady keep you. Fraternally, Francis." And one of the most prominent organizations profiled in the Vatican's video is Faith in Action and PICO. You may remember this organization from reports we produced last year proving that Faith in Action and PICO California were actively involved in pushing for the election of Joe Biden and other Democrats, while applauding violent protests and promoting abortion and transgenderism. Communism, and in particular the revolutionist and materialist ideologies of communism, are thoroughly condemned by the Catholic Church. And in 1949, Pope Pius XII published a decree that those Catholics who profess, and particularly those who defend and spread the materialist and anti-Christian doctrine of the communists, ipso facto, as apostates from the Catholic faith, incur automatic excommunication reserved especially to the Holy See. The promotion of self-professed Marxists in a video produced and published by the Vatican is a gravely serious matter. But most disturbing of all are the words of Pope Francis himself in addressing these Marxist organizations. Here are a few excerpts from Pope Francis's speech to these communists. Pay particular attention to the militancy in his words. You are, as I said in the letter I sent you last year, a veritable invisible army. You're a fundamental part of that humanity that fights for life against a system of death. Know that you are called to participate in great processes of change. As I said to you in Bolivia, the future of humanity is in great measure in your own hands, through your ability to organize and carry out creative alternatives. I often hear, Father, we agree, but in real terms, what must we do? I do not have the answer, and so we must dream together and find it together. There are, however, some concrete measures that may allow for significant changes. These measures are present in your documents, in your speeches, and I have taken them very much into account. I have reflected on them and consulted specialists. For Pope Francis to say such things to avowed revolutionary communists, professed enemies of the Catholic Church and her faithful children, is shocking beyond words. But this is why Our Lady told us to pray the Rosary every day, asking us to make the 5 first Saturdays of reparation to her Immaculate Heart. We are living in dark times indeed, but Our Lady, the lighthouse for the Church, is holding the light. Let us turn to her now in this dreadful time. Immaculate Heart of Mary, pray for us.
So it seems like we have some interesting revelations from retired military intelligence officer Steve Pichanic, the newly elected Argentinian president Javier Milei, and Michael Hitchborn of the Lepanto Institute, who also relayed a few things which are going on. And now we have to question about what is really going on with Pope Francis. Now, according to past court documents from Argentina, Bergoglio himself was accused of cooperating in some nefarious things regarding Catholics in Argentina, and which extended even into Venezuela to some extent, as was reported by Steve Pichanic. And I'm just going to put up a couple things here. You can freeze frame them to look at them and read. I'm not going to carry this on too far because I just don't want this video to be too long, because there are some other things that really need to be looked at as far as what the church, well, I should say what the popes have said, especially as regards the syllabus of errors and Pope Pius XII, when it, and these were things that were developing at the time, but which are still pertinent today. They're part of the magisterial teaching, and the bishops should really be considering these things when thinking about where the church is going, all these different organizations that are now involved with the Vatican approval, with Pope Francis's approval, and what Our Lady has told us of the church in eclipse, 2 worm-ridden popes, what she said at Fatima, what she said at Akita. And we are dancing very close to God intervening. And if God intervenes, because he ain't gonna let, the gates of hell will not prevail. did not say, Jesus did not say that the gates of hell would not be brought against us. And this is exactly what's happening as far as what we're seeing. So it falls upon the bishops to review these things, to conduct an inquiry as to the testimonies that were given in Argentina, the testimony of Steve Pieczenik, and the report of Michael Hitchborn, and really decide what it is that the bishops are going to do about this. And according to Pope Pius XI, if a person is engaging in communism, there's an automatic excommunication. Doesn't need to even be proclaimed from the Holy See or even from the Pope. And this is magisterial teaching. So if these things occurred, now you got to decide. Now you have to do what you got to do and take a look at things. And I would say that on my behalf, Canon 212, sections 2 and 3 are pertinent to what I request. Because I think everybody deserves an answer. And these are concerns of people, not just of myself, who are looking at the bishops who file dubias and then, nothing happens with them. So why don't we just get to the cut of things and take a look and see if there isn't something else you should be doing. Because the pathway is there. You just need to drive the vehicle.
The maxim is qui tacet consentire. The maxim of the law is silence gives consent. If therefore you wish to construe what my silence betokened, you must construe that I consented, not that I denied.
The thing of it is we really did have everything, didn't we? I mean, you think about it.